Welcome to Aligned and Soulful Leadership. My name is Kavita Melwani, and I empower soulful, multicultural women of color to opulently shine their light without the hustle. I truly believe you can fulfill your soul's desire without losing yourself, your health, or your life in the process. I know that you can ignite your confidence and know your worth, all while walking your divine, unique path. So in this podcast, I will dive deep into topics, challenges, and blocks that women of color experience as they rise up into their aligned life and work. My deep desire is that BIPOC women can lead through their inner wisdom in a way that honors their soul. Are you ready to rise up as the leader you were born to be? Then this podcast is for you. Hello. So this week I am going to talk further about what happens if you feel stuck in your career or business and are ready to make a change. So last week I dove deep into the Great Resignation and, just gave you some statistics of what those powers that be are saying is happening and why that is happening. And I also gave you an exercise that you could do to see if you actually are ready for a career change. And so this episode is focused on those of you that know that you are ready to make a career change or a business change, and you just don't know what to do and how to do it, what your next steps are. Okay, so I will go into those steps and then give you some more work to do and hopefully get you started with that process. So usually when we feel stuck, that can happen for multiple reasons. And one of the reasons is maybe there's no growth potential in your career. Maybe it's become so monotonous for you to do the work that you do. Maybe your work requires that you work a lot of hours or hours that don't suit the lifestyle that you'd like. Maybe you don't feel fulfilled or purposeful. So whatever the reason is for you that you're stuck, you can be clear about that first, right? And so in my experience, what I've seen with people that are stuck in their career is that they start to look externally, right? So they start to look for answers by talking to people. Maybe they compare themselves to others. And I mean, maybe part of your rut is your comparison to others. Maybe you're seeing that some other people in your social circle or even on social media are having a level of fulfillment that you would like or a level of success that you would like. And you want that for yourself, okay? And so one indication of that is you feel that envy and jealousy towards those people that you see. Okay. And, just a caveat here, whatever you see online, whatever you hear from people, even if it's in person, it's just what they want you to hear. You're only hearing one small piece of the process, of the story, of the reality. So before you use those external indications as especially in a comparison place, it's really important to remind yourself of that. I'm sure that you know that intellectually, right? You know that in your mind. It's very different to then take that into your thoughts and reality and whatever mindset work you're doing regularly, okay? So really reminding yourself of that. Because if your stuckness is because you've compared yourself to others and you feel like you're behind, then that's something to look at first, right? Before you start to change your career so that you can live up to others. So I know, from a personal experience in my work with clients that for women of color, especially first, second generation immigrants, it can be really difficult to differentiate the comparison from what is a normal amount of comparison versus what is actually healthy comparison that can motivate the change, that can motivate and give you the possibilities, right? Inspire you of what is possible. So, we don't live in bubbles. Most of us have to live in and function in the real world, as they say it. And part of that process is we interact with other people. And as humans, we need to interact with other people. So that those interactions are opportunities for us to grow and learn. So when we have that natural comparison to others, asking yourself, is that an inspiration for me? Okay. Because I know as I was growing up, oftentimes my family of origin would really compare us to the other first gen immigrants around us, right? And so there were more insular communities, right? And so the people had similar values and they felt more comfortable with people that were similar to them. And so then they start to compare with those people, and it became kind of like beyond comparison into competition, right? And that's usually not healthy, right? Because the competition can go into that, those feelings that you're not enough. Okay. So when you are in that comparison mode and, catch yourself if you're going into that competitive section of that psyche, right? Where we start to think that we're not enough because this person that we know, with similar background is doing something else. Okay. And so that can be a real struggle for a lot of women of color because, we may have grown up in families where comparison was a regular process, right? And especially being compared to those that were in our immediate surroundings. And so, using it as an inspiration is very different than comparison to, that really damages your self-worth. Okay. And so when you're looking at being stuck in your career, and if it's stemming from that comparison and it's impacting your self-worth, I'm going to encourage you to really go there first, to really examine your beliefs, to see how much you think about where others are and you gauge that, or even see where you thought you should be, okay, by now. And so that's the first place that I'd say if you find yourself in comparison to work with, if you're feeling stuck in a rut and you need to make a change, really check in about that comparison piece, okay? So as we continue to look externally for answers of feeling this stuckness in your career and business, and you're feeling like, I want to make a change, I just don't know how. What is the first place that people go is look outside, right? You ask friends, you ask people what they do. You are curious about how people spend their days and, what their jobs are like, what their businesses are like. And maybe you attend groups or you talk to people or you ask people for advice, right? And so, there are lots of well-meaning people that love you and want to give you advice, but I will say they're coming from their own lenses, of their own biases about what they believe you're capable of because of their relationship with you and how they see you, their biases of their own experiences in their lives, and they're also coming from the bias of their worlds, right? So we all have our world that we live in on a regular basis, in addition to, let's say, the global environment. So we have our individual community, right? And we have our, our friend circles. Maybe we have coworkers. Maybe we have, as a businesswoman myself, as an entrepreneur, I have groups that I'm in where there are other women, business owners especially. And so, those are the peer groups, right? And so those are the people that we interact with on a regular basis. And so that those interactions impact our beliefs of what is possible. They impact our beliefs of, how we see the world, the lens that we see the world through. And so when we ask those individuals for advice, they're coming from their experiences, their individual experiences, and the lenses that they have, right? That they've created for themselves. If a great example of shifting that lens is travel, which I know a lot of us haven't been able to do, but especially global travel, right? So going to a different country and seeing how people live differently and how they approach things, and then that tends to open our minds beyond our regular day-to-day, what we're exposed to, right? And so you come back with a different perspective, a fresh perspective. Okay. So if you're in these environments and in these communities and in your own community, and then you're going to those people for advice and you're feeling stuck, that may not be very helpful, because they are seeing that lens of where you are. They're seeing who you are now. Okay. They're not always able to see the potential. They're not able to see, the things that they don't know everything that you do, that you're interested on beyond work and beyond your business, right? So there are a lot more to do to find the answers of where you should go next, beyond just talking to the people that you surround yourself with. Okay. Of course, I'm going to recommend that, working with a mentor or coach would be very beneficial, because that person provides a third-party perspective that is not immersed in your daily life. And when a person comes through that lens, they can see things that you don't see, right? And the people around you that you surround yourself with on a regular basis just don't see. And so even the value of speaking to the coach and their encouragement and their belief in you can be so valuable. Okay. So if you really are a person that love to talk things through and would love that support, then I'm going to encourage you to seek that support, right? To help you with that process of change in your career. You should not allow yourself to stay feeling stuck in a rut. Whatever you do, I want you to take some steps to go beyond this rut. Okay. So another thing that people do when they feel stuck is they start to kind of numb themselves. And sometimes this can happen consciously or it can happen unconsciously. So what does this look like, right? So, I know that when people think about numbing, they think about the traditional drinking or drugs or substances, right? Numbing can come in other ways as well. It can come through food, overeating. It can come through basically any of the overs, right? So you could overwork, which is counterintuitive if you're feeling burnt out and want a career change. But sometimes if you don't want to, let's say, quote unquote, deal with it, you may just immerse yourself further in work. And that's a way to numb. Maybe you scroll social media. Maybe you are watching some shows where you just don't want to, that completely take you away from the thoughts. Now, there's nothing wrong with some of those activities in themselves. It's when those activities are taking away from you really looking at your life. That's when the problem happens, when it becomes an over, right? So having a wonderful meal, nothing wrong with that. Overdoing it, then if you find yourself in the overs, I'm going to encourage you to check in to see, are you numbing? Are you overeating, overdrinking, overspending, overworking, so that you cannot deal with the fact that you want to make a change and you don't know what to do? Okay, so if you are there, again, seeking support, and just the awareness of it can help the process of shifting it. Okay. And so looking at that, and instead of that time and energy that you're spending in the overs, using that time and energy to work on investigating where you can go next. Okay. So another place that people tend to go beyond speaking to the people in their community, their friends and family, and then just numbing because they just don't know what to do. The third thing that people do is research. Okay. Again, there's nothing wrong with research in of itself, right? Research is good. Looking up and seeing what the possibilities are for you, where your skills could be transferable. Even doing hopefully informational interviews with others that are in careers that you are interested in doing. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. The challenge can be if all your activities are focused on that external and you're looking for answers from someone else. Okay. So there is a value in working with a mentor. There is a value in working with a coach to help you figure out what to do next. A good coach will not tell you. If you're looking for someone to sit there and tell you, you need to do this and you need to take this next step, then you might be disappointed because the coach is going to help you come up with the answers yourself, okay, and guide you through the process and help you see things that you don't see, help you explore areas that you may not have thought of exploring, okay? So oftentimes you can go into these endless online searches and continue to search online and talk to people, and you can do this for years or months. And it may feel like you're actually doing something, right? So there's a point where the research is actually stopping you from taking further action, where you're not stopping and thinking, checking inward, where you're not really seeing where you want to be, and you're looking for constantly looking externally. And so when you're at that point where you've done the research, you've talked to people, it's time to then stop. It's time to stop. It's time to check in. It's time to see where your heart is guiding you. Where is your soul guiding you? Where is your passion guiding you? If you don't know that, if you're disconnected from yourself, then you need to reconnect with yourself first and make those decisions. So I am going to lead you as a bonus through a quick grounding visualization to help you with that process of reconnecting with yourself so that you can then take further steps. Okay. So if you are listening to this podcast while you are driving or walking or cooking, then you can still listen, just don't follow the instructions of closing your eyes, and then come back to this point and listen to it when you are able to sit down and be in a calmer state of mind. I know that a lot of the people I work with are very busy and tend to multitask. And so, it is really important to give yourself this space of at least a few minutes so that you can do this. So starting with taking a moment and closing your eyes. And so taking a couple of deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling, and again inhaling and exhaling. And so with the next breath, I want you to imagine that the breath is going through the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. And as you exhale, it's coming back up and it's clearing out any energy that may be stuck, any attachment that you're feeling to an answer. So inhaling in, calm, exhaling out the attachment. And doing that for one more breath. Now I want you to imagine that you're surrounded by healing light energy, that you are safe, you are guided. And it brings in the knowing of that we are all connected. And knowing that no matter what you choose and whatever you do, you are safe. So allowing this energy to surround you, and maybe you feel the warmth. And breathing in and out. And then finally taking a moment and putting your hand on your heart. And with your hand on your heart, breathing into your heart center. And exhaling out. And then you can keep your hand there, or you can relax it. And I want you to breathe into your third eye, that area between the center of your eyes, and exhaling out. So I want you to imagine that there's a screen in front of you. It looks kind of like a movie screen. And with the screen in front of you, you notice yourself. You can see yourself walking around, doing something, working. Just taking a moment and noticing what's happening in that movie screen. Noticing how you feel watching yourself. Noticing any guidance that comes through in your mind, any thoughts, feelings that come through. And maybe there's some symbols there. So taking that in. Imagining yourself now stepping into that scene, into that version of yourself. And noticing anything that stands out. Hanging on to one thing that you can take away from this scene. And then taking a couple of deep breaths. Again, you find yourself coming out of that screen, surrounded by light. And when you're feeling ready, coming back and opening your eyes. And I want you to write down what you saw. Write down the symbol. Okay, if you need to pause this, go ahead and do that and write it down. What did you receive from that? So I truly believe that we are spiritual beings here having a physical experience. And if you're looking for purpose, if you're looking for meaningful work, if you are really feeling stuck, you need to pay attention to that. And we tend to look to the physical world, especially if you are from an immigrant background, because there was a sense of conditioning of the practical, of tangible. I'm going to encourage you to seek more of that balance of the mind, body, spirit, to use your intuitive guidance. There is just so much noise out there. There's so many things going on. We are bombarded. And so taking a few moments and checking inward, instead of constantly looking outward. I'm not saying there's no value to the outward, to the research, to the speaking to others. It's really important to check inward, though, and check what you are feeling and use that connection with yourself as your guidance. So I'm reminded of a client story that is related to this. Now, this client came to me because they wanted to change their career. And really interestingly, they spoke to me and to another coach while they were deciding who to work with. And they decided to work with me. And I found out through our process that part of the reason that this client wanted to make changes in their career were, one, because of the income potential in their current career. And secondly, there was a sense of disappointment to their father. They felt like they were not measuring up to the expectations. And so this client was going to go ahead and pursue another degree without doing this work, right? Just with doing that research piece. And it turned out through our work together that that this client needed to go inward and heal some of that attachment to what the father thought, and then further investigate the things that lit them up instead of how they were not enough. And so I love working with clients like this and the results that they receive. This person then came up with a plan for their future and their steps in their career, and created this balanced life of pursuits that were also fulfilling besides looking to just work for that. So remember, we see what we're conditioned to see. In this story that I'm sharing with you, this client was conditioned to see that their worth was tied to income, right? The worth was tied to how much money they would make, and they were making. And yes, it would be nice for more income. Would changing the career bring the fulfillment that this person sought? And they knew that it wouldn't. So they didn't go that route, okay? And so how can you shake things up and break that kind of spell of conditioning that you have? How can you connect with yourself and go inward? How do you mix that spiritual aspect, the mind aspect, and the physicality of taking action and doing something different? Shake things up if you're taking action. Go beyond your comfort zone. Go beyond your surroundings and what you're used to. I know it feels scary and it goes beyond our conditioning, right? That we need to stay safe by staying with the people that we know will treat us well, we know that we're safe with. So I'm going to encourage you to, if you have the time to listen to that again, listen to that visualization again and see what comes through. If you have any symbols that you're not sure what they mean, then I'd love to hear from you. Part of my training is that I'm a certified Jungian coach. And so I have a lot of training in shadows and symbols, and, I can help you kind of navigate what you saw in that visualization. So if you would like to connect, you can schedule the leadership strategy session with me, and we can go there and see what came through in that visualization and talk about what that means for you in your next steps. And of course, at the end, I always do discuss if working together is a good fit. I only work with people where we have a great connection and a soul connection. So until next time, take good care. And know that if you did not get the answer today, it is coming and you are safe. Bye. Thank you for joining me for Aligned and Soulful Leadership. I was inspired to start this podcast as a way to empower women of color to rise up into their aligned leadership. Remember, I will have all the resources I mentioned during this episode available in the show notes at alignedandsoulfulpodcast.com. I'm your host, Kavita, and if you enjoyed this podcast, please tell your friends. And if you haven't received my free abundance meditation and exercise, then go to alignedandsoulfulleadership.com and subscribe to my newsletter, and you will receive this powerful visualization and exercise to ignite your abundant life. Thank you. Until next time. next time, take good care. Bye.